Ken, there's been quite a lot going on since our last show. I'm delighted to have you back. As always, we've been doing some really great shows together, and you have been doing incredible reporting with your team at headlineusa.com. You've uncovered some stunning information about Charlie Kirk's security team and some of the intrigue surrounding all of that. How have you been?
Overworked, underpaid, but it's good to be with you. I'm all right.
And people should remember that they can follow you on X at JD Cashless. You are doing, as I said, fantastic work. You were basically the guy who broke the story about Irina. What's her last name again?
Zarutska, the tragedy that happened on the Charlotte train with the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee that was stabbed to death, and we were the first publication to actually obtain and publish the full video of that horrific tragedy.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're not trying to sensationalize that. It's important because you brought national attention to it, I believe, with that move, and it really brought it to the forefront. Hopefully something will happen. So now, in continuing that tradition of excellent gumshoe reporting, people can also follow you there on Headline USA. You've revealed some facts and details about Charlie Kirk's security team. What is it that you've found about that, and what do you think the implications are?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity to talk about this because this is actually our first big scoop for the Charlie Kirk case. I've been trying to follow all the developments, but we haven't really contributed anything, groundbreaking until now. And so, for weeks, people have had questions about, who were the private security team that, failed in protecting Charlie. And a lot of people were looking at Schaefer Security Group, which is run by a former FBI agent named Greg Schaefer. And I've actually been keeping an eye on that company for a while because there are some possible connections to Butler, which we'll get into that later. But in any event, myself and a couple other anonymous Twitter accounts that have been researching Butler still follow Schaefer Security Group, and one of the accounts, Piper, was actually the first to find out when they tweeted on Sunday afternoon, I believe, that we were not the firm there. Our contract ran out in 2022, and it's this new firm, Integrity Security Solutions. So, I saw that tweet and I immediately called Greg Schaefer, and he confirmed the details over phone, and he also gave me some pretty juicy stuff. He basically said that he used to work with these people at Integrity Security and that they kind of stabbed him in the back. They they formed their own company and undercut him on the price, and they got the contract with TPUSA. So yeah, that's the story. The implications, I think, are pretty stunning. Even if you believe the official story, nobody around Charlie Kirk is asking, why didn't the security team and the police protect the roof? Like everybody was saying that after Butler. That was the most obvious
Right.
question. And then here, the roof is even easier to access than the AGR. Like the steps literally lead right up to the rooftop. And any competent, security person with a background in military and law enforcement would have made sure those steps were blocked off or that somebody should have been up there to prevent somebody from going up there. So it's really, I don't want to say suspicious, but I guess, yeah, it is suspicious that all these journalists, so-called, who are claiming to be friends with Charlie, they have not even mentioned this at all. And I think, again, even if we're going to believe the official story, I think it shows how craven they are that they don't want to criticize TPUSA. It looks like they want to maintain access, and that's why nobody's asking these kind of questions except, more like outsiders like us.
Yeah, I mean, Ken, you're raising some really interesting points and connections. I mean, the fact that this Schaefer group was connected to Butler, PA, and we do see a lot of similarities there with Butler, PA. I really appreciate, I say this every time because it's super important. I really appreciate your approach of just let's gather all the evidence and then see where the evidence leads us, rather than starting with some conclusion and then searching for evidence that supports that conclusion.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words, and I should say they're possibly connected to Butler. The connection is through a sniper named Ben Schaefer, who was on the Washington SWAT team, and he was positioned in the south bleachers, that was about like 300 yards away from the AGR building. And the reason we think he might be linked to Greg Schaefer is because he spoke at that Heritage event. Um, he was sitting next to Dan Bongino and Eric Prince, and he said that he was in private security. He's like not just some police officer. And Washington SWAT team is some sort of like nonprofit entity. It looks like he's not actually a cop in the Pennsylvania area. I wish I should have asked Greg about that while I had him on the phone. Maybe I'll get the opportunity to do that at some point, although I don't know if he'll talk to me now. But
Right.
uh, I have thrown that out. Let me find that on my Twitter and I'll retweet it so you could maybe we
Yeah,
could play it
you
and see
had
what he had to
the phone
say.
call with him, right? That's what I definitely want to hear. I also want to remind people, Ken, you and I are going to have an even more in-depth conversation about all of this after we're done here. People are going to be able to join us for that sponsor exclusive segment on substack.com/@Ken Silva. And people can support Ken and his work by subscribing to him on Substack. We're also going to have that for Crowdsource the Truth sponsors on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And people who follow me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe will get that sponsor exclusive content after the broadcast is done. You know, Ken, I don't know if you saw this, but I've been doing a lot of stuff on X with the Charlie Kirk murder. And just the other day, I've been sort of relegated to this porn status where essentially everything I post is getting these sensitive content warnings. And I think what happened was it was the result of mass reporting, and it's put my account into this mode where it's permanently locked into, look at this. See, even when I just posted the link for the video that we're doing right now, before any content was associated with it, it automatically gets labeled as sensitive content, and then it doesn't get, people have to set their account to want to view sensitive content, and it's not the default setting. So this has just crushed the reach of any information that I'm putting out about Charlie Kirk. Here's what people are showing me that they see when they try to follow my account. Look at that.
Yeah, that would have to be mass reporting, wouldn't it?
I think so. I mean, now that I've figured this all out, just yesterday, I've put in a request to X support, and also I pay for the premium features on X so we can do things like live stream, and I publish long form articles and stuff like that. People frequently will say, oh, you're a sucker, you pay for Twitter. It's like, well, no, I pay for video hosting services and publishing services and the things that they offer. You can use the free services of X for sure. But, now that I'm paying and being blocked like this, I'm sort of feeling like, hey, this is a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they resolve that because that's what happens to my friend BX all the time when she's hunting these chat rooms that share like child abuse material. A lot of those guys, they're known for also like swatting journalists, and they'll mass report BX for having sensitive material, and sometimes her account will get frozen or locked or have that sensitive notification. So yeah, looks like you're above the above the target, whoever's doing it to you.
I think that's right. So yeah, let's see if we can take a look or a listen actually to that phone call that you had with Schaefer.
It's not the phone call. I actually retweeted Greg Schaefer's testimony at the
Ah,
Heritage
right.
Foundation, where
I
he
see it
talks
there.
about being in private security.
Yeah, let's give a listen to that. Take it back here.
Performance in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I've provided security services to the President of the United States and other high-ranking members in the United States government. I have protected diplomatic persons, high-net-worth corporate clients, media personalities, investigative journalists, and the general public. I continue that work today as a SWAT team leader and executive protection specialist. I have been recognized on numerous occasions for my high level of professionalism, proficiency, and knowledge of all security measures while working in those fields. As I analyze what happened in performance.
So that's pretty interesting. I got to say, I'm a little suspicious of both Dan Bongino and Eric Prince. And then here's this guy talking about his private security work. What do you make of all that?
I don't know what to make of it yet. I mean, the weird thing about that whole event is that he didn't provide much information. I think he did say something like, "Oh, I never saw the rooftop gunman on the AGR the whole time." And then he provided some information about the police finding Anfo bombs in Crooks's home like later that night. But the vast majority of that event was just Dan Bongino bloviating and Eric Prince contributing every now and then. And I think the lawmakers included like Matt Gaetz and Mills, and they didn't ask him any questions, which is just really bizarre. And then after that, I filed a FOIA with that Washington SWAT team for all its records related to Butler. And I didn't get much, but one of the only interesting records was the SWAT team commander, Guy Kuzak, kind of scolding Ben Schaefer, saying you didn't get permission to speak at this heritage event, telling everybody like from now on, before you speak to the media, you clear it with me first. Like this wasn't authorized to just go to this big event. So again, I don't think he's really a policeman. It seems like he's doing, whatever he wants. And like the last information, I haven't confirmed this, but somebody sent me his latest address. Apparently he's living in like Quantico now, so he's not even in Pennsylvania. And the reason I think this is true is it's just one of those people finders, but it's like his name, Ben Schaefer. It says he's in Quantico now, but his phone number is like 724, which is still a Pennsylvania area code. So I do think it's the Ben Schaefer that was at Butler, and now he's at Quantico. So again, I don't know what to make of this, but this is crowdsource the truth. So, you throw that information out there and hope other people can help connect the dots.
Absolutely. Ken, I mean, this is outstanding work. I can't compliment your work and the work that you're doing at Headline USA enough, because this is a systematic and unbiased approach to finding information and seeing where that information leads. I'm becoming really frustrated by some people who have jumped to the conclusion that he's got an exploding microphone or that there were kinetic attack drones that shot at him. And I mean, again, when I push back on any of these theories, just this morning, I was just looking at X, and someone is pushing this exploding microphone theory. And they say, oh no, he's got an exploding microphone because Israel exploded pagers and therefore Israel killed him. And I say, wait a minute. First of all, we have no visual evidence that the microphone exploded. In fact, we have evidence that the microphone stayed attached. Secondarily, and if I push back on their evidence, they say, oh, you're Jewish, you're defending Israel, where's your dual citizenship, where's your Israeli passport? And it's like, hang on a second. Nothing I've said absolves any particular party from having murdered Charlie Kirk. It very well could have been Israel. I don't have any evidence that it was. I also don't have any evidence that it wasn't. So I'm not making any conclusion about who did this. And to clearly state, neither you nor I don't speak for Ken. Let me just say that. I am certainly not, and my understanding is that Ken is also not directly implicating any of these security members in having done any particular thing. We're just talking about information and evidence that Ken has discovered from looking at public domain sources. And let's go into that a little bit more. What did the guy tell you about the intrigue with some of these people on the security team? And particularly, everybody has seen this guy I mean, this is a bit of a weird movement that he makes in this video, right? He appears to be making some sort of like what a catcher would do to the pitcher to give some kind of hand signal from behind the batter to do something. And again, it doesn't implicate him. It just causes people in the public to become suspicious of what is that.
Yeah, I've stayed away from the hand signals at all because, again, I don't think you need to go there to raise questions about just the egregious security failures. That guy's name we believe is Dan Flood, who is the head of security at TPUSA, and he was associated with Greg Schaefer for years. And Greg claims that Dan and this other guy named Brian Harple were the one that stabbed him in the back. Brian Harple runs the security firm Integrity Security Solutions, but Dan Flood is the actual, I think he's like a full timer with TPUSA. I looked in a little bit into his background. He's like a Marine. Ended up in like the animal care service. I guess the most interesting thing that I've found that can confirm right now is that I searched him and TPUSA on Google, and you find his bio page. You click on it, it says it's been removed, but if you put it in the Wayback Machine, it was active as recently as July. And that strongly suggests to me that they may have taken it down after the Kirk killing, possibly because they don't want people asking questions about who was running security. I actually tweeted that out last night, and eventually TPUSA's Tyler Boyers, I think is his name, responded saying people are obsessing over this Dan Flood guy. He's a great guy. Like, don't ask any questions. And to me, that's just unacceptable. Again, I'm not obsessing over him. I'm not saying, oh, he was in on it. He's doing hand signals to signal some kind of shooter to act now. I just want to know if he's still with TPUSA. Has he been suspended? Has he been fired? Have they done anything to the security team that failed on September 10th? I think these are perfectly reasonable questions.
Wow. Absolutely, Ken. I mean, this is fantastic work that you've done here. You know, the other questions that come up, there is a camera mounted right behind Charlie Kirk, which Candace Owens has said she's seen video from that camera. And I think, again, people have a lot of questions. You've just raised an excellent point. You just say, hey, nobody looked at the roof. Charlie was killed. Set everything aside. These guys are in charge of his security. He was killed. That's a failure. So right away, it is totally reasonable to be asking, hey, by the way, how did that happen? You guys didn't secure buildings. You didn't check people coming into the venue for guns. He was shot. He's dead. Your security. Where's the press conference announcing how this happened, why this happened, what you're changing about your approach in the future that could prevent something like, because they're back, I think, yesterday in Utah doing another event. Are these people still involved? If I want to go to that TPUSA event, am I in danger of being shot by somebody on a roof who you're not looking for? It's not like we're, nosing into their personal business. These are questions of public safety, aren't they?
I would imagine apparently nobody in conservative media agrees, though, because you've got guys with direct access. I mean, so the guys like Benny Johnson and all these people that are just totally silent and ready to move on. So it's very bizarre. And then on the other side, you have, you triggered me by mentioning Candace Owens, and I think she's totally on the opposite side of the coin where she's just regurgitating any crazy theory that she hears without confirming it first, and that's not doing any favors either. She claims she saw the footage of this camera. I I don't have any reason to believe her considering all of the various untruths that she's spouted. But while we're on the topic of the camera, another reasonable question is why did you take that down? Why did somebody
Right.
stand on a chair where Charlie was sitting, contaminating the crime scene? Again, not only is nobody in conservative media asking these questions, but I would think that a local reporter in Utah could really do a great story. It would only take a couple hours to call the local sheriff and talk about that. I mean, I could try to do it, but I don't have a relationship. Like that's something a local reporter could really do at a press conference with Spencer Cox or somebody. And it seems like they're kind of dropping the ball too. I'm hoping that these questions will eventually get asked publicly.
I agree with you, Ken. And if I may continue to compliment you, the approach that you take of, what you've just said right there, how come a local reporter hasn't established some relationship? I mean, this is like you could teach a journalism 101 class. And I like that, going back to base principles to just do something right, particularly in this day and age where a lot of people are just doing whatever. We've got tremendous access to broadcasting and publishing, and so many people have gone off the rails. You, as the editor of Headline USA, it's like just the facts, ma'am. And the other thing I want to point out with what you raise about not specifically Candace Owens, but just people like that in general who have become really large influencers. Even though you're doing tremendous work, breaking stories that are of national interest, whether it's of Irina or Charlie Kirk or whatever it might be, your social media platforms have been kind of limited in growth. You've got 11,000 followers on Headline USA, and people should follow you there at Headline USA on X, and of course on your personal account at JD Cashless, both of which are growing and at a nice rate. I'm not trying to minimize the growth. I'm just saying it's interesting to see how some of the other parties that you've just mentioned have millions of people viewing what they're doing. They don't get the kind of sensitive content warnings. Now, maybe I've done something wrong and run afoul of the rules there on X. I'm not going to completely dismiss that possibility. I do understand a little bit of a nuanced aspect of how I should have manually chosen to mark different posts I made that showed the actual death of Charlie Kirk. I may have misstepped there, but I do think it opened the door for the type of activity that you were describing that BX sometimes runs into, where social engineers who are watching what I'm doing and want to suppress the information seize on that, mass report it, and now I can't get through to support at X and explain to them that shouldn't be happening. What do you think about that? People attacking this type of information opportunistically?
Yeah, well, when we published the footage of the train stabbing, our video did get marked as sensitive content, but our account overall was fine. I will note, though, that when Alex Jones's team ripped our video and cropped out our watermark, and then he got the, millions and millions of views, his account wasn't marked sensitive. That post, the specific footage was not marked sensitive. And that does kind of raise questions about astroturfing in my mind. I mean, we still had pretty good success with that footage. And eventually, after we were censored on YouTube, one of Elon Musk's friends retweeted our story about being censored. And then eventually Elon Musk commented on our video. So like it was overall a success, but that incident with Alex Jones kind of did leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth.
And again, I don't want to speak for you, but you raise an interesting point, because a lot of people might hear what we're talking about and say, oh, these guys are trying to make money off of people getting killed and blah, blah, blah. That is absolutely incorrect, in my opinion. We are trying to make money as journalists, and we're trying to share this important information that from time to time does involve murders of innocent people. But of course, if Ken or I can't earn money as journalists, these stories will never come out, these victims will never see justice, and other people are in danger of being killed. So I do urge viewers viewers to sponsor Ken on substack.com/@KenSilva and to join us for this upcoming sponsor exclusive segment right after this. You can also see it on Crowdsource, thetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And my subscribers on X who follow me at JG_CSTT and subscribe will be able to join us there. Ken will be back in just 5 minutes with that sponsor exclusive segment. So stay with us, everybody. You're not going to want to miss this. There's a lot more to discuss about Charlie Kirk's security team, that camera behind him, and something new that I want to share with you, Ken, about that camera. We'll be right back. Stay with us,
All right.
everybody.
Sounds good.